Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal.
This is, I guess, a follow-up video on the whole Trump Vance Zelenskyy meeting that occurred at the Oval Office. The American people got used to, in the Biden administration, not only hardly ever seeing Biden speak,
like Kareem Al-Jabbar, Putin's
Kleptocracy.
surely not seeing anything authentic. And as a lot of people have discussed, these are the types of conversations that do all the time occur behind closed doors, and we are just not privy to them because it's not probably considered the norm. And Trump has been anything but the norm in a good way.
I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world.
Very authentic, says what he wants to say and doesn't hold back.
He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States.
And he gets a lot of pushback on that, but in reality, almost everything that he has said, or people don't like his style and how he speaks sometimes, we all speak that way also. We just like to go about society and pretend that we're perfect angels. You get what you get with him. You get a very straightforward president.
But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position.
Which is something I surely appreciate, and I think a lot of other people appreciate. When you are seeing a meeting like this, where it's heated and it's going back and forth.
Take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want to cease fire.
But I said to you...
I want to...
It's not about winning. It is not about losing. It is not about ego. Sometimes we have to swallow our pride in things. It's about the bigger picture. It's like, if everyone remembers this.
All right, moving on now. Hawaii's emergency management agency is under fire. It's after Saturday's terrifying false alarm. People ran for their lives after an alert mistakenly warned residents and visitors of an incoming ballistic missile.
When everyone was screaming and running around thinking that something terrible was happening with an incoming situation in Hawaii, okay, picture if that happened in the city you are living in the U.S., the city that you are living in the U.S., and you're writing your comments saying how you don't like this administration, how you love Zelenskyy. It's like, imagine those tweets coming in or text message warnings coming in.
5,500 people called Honolulu's 911 system.
Saying, basically say goodbye to your loved ones. It's like, how do you think that you would react in a situation like that? It's about the bigger picture, and I think that that's something that amazes me. We also have a liberal media and people who do not like the Trump administration who are going to look for anything and everything to dislike him about, even in things that are very, very serious. So they will be like, look, another reason that we don't like Trump. He's very disrespectful. Look how he treated Zelenskyy in that meeting. It's like, but you're honing in on that because you don't like Trump. But the bigger picture is, can you understand that there is a bigger picture happening?
We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember, you're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
No one wants a nuclear war. And I think that when people hear that, they think it sounds very fictitious. They feel like it could never happen.
38 minutes of terror for the people of Hawaii before this message went out saying, sorry, false alarm.
But it can happen. That's what I think people don't want to understand.
You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
No one wants a nuclear war. It's a very, very, very scary concept, but it's also a very real fear in a world where so many countries have nuclear weapons and there's a lot of tension in the world.
The computer and turns them into sound.
Shall we play a game?
It's not about not liking the Trump administration. It's about the bigger picture, and that is what Russia did when they invaded another sovereign country, referring to Ukraine. Correct. Absolutely not. It is always wrong what they did. What I'm saying is that they cannot be part of NATO because it is a symbolic act of aggression. The Russians will look at that and say, you are essentially creating a gang against us, Russia, and they will take that as a threatening nature. So we should try to avoid. And sometimes that means not talking about Trump, that you just don't like Trump. Sometimes that means actually looking at the bigger picture. It's not about there being winners or losers. It's about coming to a deal between Russia, Ukraine, and most likely the U.S. having to help that be facilitated, because we always somehow get involved in everything.
The only winning move is not to play.
And say this is not about Trump. This is not really about Harris. Well, some people would say that the weak administration of the prior administration got us into all this tension, and I do agree with that. But it's about the overall bigger picture. The other thing I wanted to briefly mention in the video is that a lot of people verbally went after Trump and were writing articles and things when he made a comment that got twisted, saying that Vance is not yet ready to possibly be president. If he had gotten up and said Vance is ready today to be president, people could come back and say, well, he hasn't proved himself. Vance needs to show the American people why he deserves to be president in the next election.
It's actually a very important question.
We spoke about this in detail with the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and others at lunch yesterday. This is really important. We believe Americans have the right to speak their mind, even if we in this room disagree with them. They have the right to speak their mind in the public square, which is often online these days.
And that comes with him making himself more of a presence and not being known as just Trump's sidekick. But it's about him starting to be his own person.
And sir, is there any agreement from...
The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
in the meeting that got heated, and it certainly did, you certainly do see Vance interjecting and speaking his mind, and Trump lets him do that. Number one, you can't take on the world, literally, no pun intended, as one person. And also, he needs to allow Vance to start to have a presence, and for the American people to start to see the way he speaks, the way he handles conflict. Those are important qualities. And then, that he has to prove himself, and that's okay. People a lot of times, well, first of all, the liberal media will take anything and everything and twist it. But specifically when Trump made the comment that, we will see how Vance does, it is an authentic comment. You would not have a lot of respect if he said he's great today. He is great today, but there is nothing wrong with saying Vance is great, but let's see how great he can become over the next 4 years and if he earns his right to be the next president. There's nothing wrong with saying that. That doesn't mean that the person is not talented or will not end up fulfilling that role. We have to have a deal that facilitates peace.
For the opposition and the president who's trying...
He's not speaking loudly. You've done a lot of talking.
Again, I approve of things. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes you won't approve of me. Sometimes you will. Sometimes you won't. That's okay. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again soon in my next video, and bye.